I've been studying Japanese for so many years now, but I still don't use this one aspect of the language as often or as naturally as I think I should.擬態語, which in English you might call idiophones. You can just think onomatopoeia, except for things that don't actually imitate sounds. Examples of onomatopoeia in English would be things like the cat hissed, the bee buzzed, thud, bang. It's these words that imitate the sound. Whereas an idiophone would be a word like zigzag, for example. It's not imitating a sound, it's just imitating like a concept. Zigzag. And idiophones are not all that common in English, but they're super common in Japanese. For example, I'm going to play a 9-second clip I pulled from a Japanese YouTube channel and try to see how many times he uses kitaigo, idiophones, in this clip.
昔の私の肌ってボロ雑巾だったんですよね。いや、冗談じゃなくて、カサカサを超えてガサガサ、ニキビだらけでボツボツ、ゴワゴワ。
Okay. So we had kasa kasa, gasa gasa, botsu botsu, and goa goa. And I just don't think to use kitaigo this often in my own Japanese, and I really need to use it more often. So a translation of what he's saying might be something like, back in the day, my skin was like a dirty old rag. I'm not joking, it was super dry and cracked and just absolutely covered in pimples. See, in the English translation, we don't only have idiophones, but the Japanese had 4. I'll explain that whole clip later in this video, but first let's just look at the gitaigo he used. So he says kasa kasa, which means dry or dried out, and then he also says gasa gasa with ga instead of ka, that voiced ga sound, and this just sounds even more dry or dried out than kasa kasa. So gasa gasa is more dry than kasa kasa. Then he describes his pimple-covered face as being botsu botsu, and botsu botsu means like spots or bumps, like little spots, bumps, basically little pimples all over his face. And finally he says goa goa, and I'll be honest, I didn't really know what this meant, so I asked Bae, my wife, and she said, like if you hung a bath towel out on your balcony and it was really cold outside, and then when you go to bring it in it's sort of stiff and hard, that would be goa goa. And in the video he writes goa goa with a, like go a, but native speakers would more often write goa goa with wa instead of a, so goa goa. It's kind of hard to tell the difference when someone says it. They sound the same, right? Goa goa, goa goa. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I don't really get how your face can be hard or stiff like a towel that's left out in the cold weather to dry, but sounds like probably not a good thing. Did you notice how all of these kitaigo had 2 pairs of kana repeated? So kasa kasa, gasa gasa, botsu botsu, goa goa. This is pretty common, this repeated sounds for Japanese sound symbolism, but you don't always have to repeat it. When you would or would not can sort of depend on what you're trying to say. We have a lesson on this in NativShark, so I'll just show you. A lot of Japanese onomatopoeia contain repeated sound combinations. For example, it's not just goro, it's goro goro, rumble rumble. That's like the sound of thunder, by the way. It's not just chiku, it's chiku chiku, prickling, stinging, tingling. Repeated sound combos add the nuance that a certain action, sensation, etc. is occurring repeatedly. So a short rumble of thunder might be goro, but the ongoing or repeated rumbling of thunder is goro goro. We don't always have to use the repeated sound combos for an onomatopoeic word. For example, chiku chiku can be chiku. Conversely, you might see something like chiku chiku chiku. When we are not repeating the sound chiku, it can be inferred that we are describing a one-time sensation. It's not prickling, tingling, or stinging. It's a single prick, a single stabbing feeling. So when I got my stitches out, the doctor said,
ちょっとチクチクしますよ。
ちょっとチクチクしますよ。
If my doctor were about to give me an injection, however, a one-time prick, she might say,
ちょっとチクッとしますよ。
ちょっとチクッとしますよ。
And sometimes you can drop the second half of the repeated sounds and add the verb tsuku onto the end of it. And we have a lesson on this in NativShark also, so I'll just show you that one as well. Adding tsuku to mimetic words. You can take a gitaigo word that mimics an action, condition, or manner as opposed to a sound, mimetic word, idiophone, and then attach tsuku to it to form a verb. This is somewhat similar to putting suru after gitaigo, as in ira ira suru, to get irritated, uro uro suru, to wander around aimlessly, to loiter. It's hard for me to say uro uro suru still. I need to practice. However, gitaigo plus tsuku sounds a bit more slang-like. Also, you typically wouldn't put it after a repeated form of the gitaigo. For example, instead of ira ira suru, you could say iratsuku, which also means to get irritated. You moved abroad, and although you only speak Japanese, went to open a bank account. You're telling your husband how you managed to open an account.
窓口のお姉さんめっちゃイラついてて追い返そうとしてきたけど、バカなふりして粘ったぜ。
窓口のお姉さんめっちゃイラついてて追い返そうとしてきたけど、バカなふりして粘ったぜ。
The lady assisting me was super irritated and tried to get me to leave, but I played dumb and persisted. イラついてて. By the way, if these sentences in NativShark seem super difficult for you right now, they wouldn't if you were using NativShark because it goes one concept at a time and just builds upon itself. So you would be ready for sentences like these when you got to them. Anyway, I don't have some magic solution to get you as good as a native speaker at using擬態語. I think it just takes a lot of exposure to the language and listening to how and when people use them and trying to use them more in your own speech as well. Okay, with that said, let's go and break down the rest of that 9-second clip. So this is from a personal finance channel, and he's talking about purchases that he regrets making or things that he wishes he had not spent money on. And the first of those things is expensive skincare products. And that's why he's talking about his pimple-covered face back in the day.
昔の私の肌ってボロ雑巾だったんですよね。いや冗談じゃなくて、カサカサを超えてガサガサ、ニキビだらけでボツボツゴワゴワ。
We know it's back in the day because he starts with 昔の僕, what do you say?
昔の私の肌って。
昔の僕の肌って. So 昔 is a long time ago. 僕 is a way to say I. It's a masculine way of say I. Hada is skin. So you put nose between them. Which hada skin? 僕の肌, my skin. And which boku? I. 昔の僕. So me a long time ago. So 昔の僕の肌って is like my skin back in the day. And then he follows all of that with te, which is a colloquial topic marker. Just indicates that he's going to talk about his skin back in the day after this. We know that that's what's coming next because he has marked that as the topic. And then he says,
ボロ雑巾だったんですよね。
ボロ雑巾だったんですよね。ね。So was a dirty old rag. I forgot boro. He says borozokin, and boro is also gitaigo. Like if you say something is boro, it means it's, in tatters, worn out, shabby. And he puts that boro from boro onto the front of zokin, and a zokin is like a rag, dish rag, cleaning rag. So borozokin is like a tattered old rag. I put dirty old rag, but I guess I maybe should have put tattered old rag or something like that. And then datta is the past tense of the copula, so it just means something like was. And then des is, so des is the present tense of the copula, but in front of it he has the which is sometimes what I call an explanation marker. And while you could think that he's like saying des after borozokin datta because he's explaining that that's why he was buying all those skincare products, but I think that's kind of overreading into it. I don't think he's thinking that much about why he's saying it this way. And in the same way, he says yone at the end, and yo is for emphasis, and ne is usually an agreement or confirmation seeking particle, but he's not really seeking confirmation or agreement from you. He's just saying ne because he is. If you're interested in this other usage of ne like this, you can just read the description of the video. I'll put some stuff in it. Anyway, we have lots of individual pieces that when we try to translate them in isolation are kind of weird in English, but you put it all together and it makes a sentence like so.
昔の私の肌ってボロ雑巾だったんですよね。
昔の僕の肌ってボロ雑巾だったんですよね。Back in the day, my skin was like a tattered old rag. And then he continues with
いや冗談じゃなくて。
いや冗談じゃなくて. So I'm not joking. Yeah, sort of means no, but it's also used as like an interjection or a space filler sometimes. You'll start using it on your own as well if you use enough Japanese. Jodan means joke, and then janakute. So janai means is not, isn't, but he has it in te form, janakute. So yeah, jodan janakute is like, no, I'm not joking. So no, seriously. And then because it's in te form, we know he has more to say about this. That's coming after. And that's when we start to get the gitaigo. He says,
カサカサを超えてガサガサ、ニキビだらけでボツボツゴワゴワ。
kasakasaを超えてガサガサ. I just translated this as it was super dry and cracked. We've seen that kasakasa means dry or dried out, and gasagasa also means dry or dried out, but it just sounds a little more dried or dried out. You can imagine like someone's dry and cracked heels or something like that. And in the middle, he has okoete. So o is an object marking particle. It's marking kasakasa as the object of the verb koeru. Koeru means to surpass or to exceed. So what did it surpass or exceed? Kasakasa. So it was more than just kasakasa. It was gasagasa. And he has the verb koeru in te form also. So koete instead of koeru. Then he says,
ニキビだらけでボツボツゴワゴワ。
nikibi darake de botsubotsu goa goa. Nikibi means like pimple or zit, acne. Darake means full of or riddled with, covered with. So nikibi darake means covered with pimples, full of zits. Then he says de because he's about to comment more on this fact that his face was covered in pimples. Namely, he's going to describe what it looked like with two more gitaigo, botsubotsu goa goa. So we saw botsubotsu is like bumps or spots, and then goa goa is like this hard, stiff meaning. So for ニキビだらけでボツボツゴワゴワ, I just translated it as and just absolutely covered in pimples. We don't really have the nice selection of ideophones in English that I could use to describe that as well as they do in Japanese using kitaigo, but alas. So let's listen to the whole 9-second clip again and see how much you understand this time.
昔の私の肌ってボロ雑巾だったんですよね。いや冗談じゃなくて、カサカサを超えてガサガサ、ニキビだらけでボツボツゴワゴワ。
Back in the day, my skin was like a tattered old rag. I'm not joking. It was super dry and cracked and just absolutely covered in pimples. Have fun using Kitaigo in your own Japanese. In the description of this video, I'll put a link to that clip that we featured, and you can see how much you understand about personal finance in Japanese. And I'll write all of the Japanese that we saw in this video in the description as well. And I'll also put a link to our free Discord community where people, help each other learn Japanese. And it's a nice community. Please do join. You don't have to use NativShark. And I'll put a link to NativShark as well also because we saw a couple lessons from it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your time.
この番組はフューチャーラーニングメソッドネイティブシャークがお送りしました。